I'm gonna start reviewing albums. And I thought, this is a challenging video to do. So, I thought to make it less intimidating on myself, I'd start with something simple. Will Smith's Big Willie Style. Now this album is Will Smith's first album. I picked this up at a thrift shop. I had no idea this was the first album, by the way. I had not heard this album the whole way through. They're very cheesy. It's a very 90s type of rap. Like, from the rap I know, it's very, very 90s. I mean, you can tell he knows what he's a good singer. I like his voice, but he's not, he just doesn't, you can tell that part of the album here is not very experimental, because it's more experimental, but not enough. He's not pushing it enough. And I get it, this is his first album, so maybe his other albums are better. I actually want to check out more of Will Smith's albums if I ever get a chance to. Yeah, I think this is a very good piece right there. And so, pretty great right there, number one. Getting Jiggy With It. Getting Jiggy With It is a phenomenal track for the time. It's a very goofy, it's very upbeat, it's like a dance song. It's like, na 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 na, getting jiggy with it. It has like a great sound to it. It's probably the most memorable song of Will Smith's entire career as a rapper, besides the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme. But it really shows off his talent as a rapper and as a lyricist, and he just knows what he's doing, and it comes together to make a really fantastic song. Track number 4 of Big Willie Style, Candy, features Larry Blackmon and Cameo. That's what it says on the official track listing on this album. And I believe this is a first edition when this album first released. But I don't know those artists, so excuse me if I'm not familiar with what they exactly do. I barely even noticed them in this track. And honestly, I don't think this track was that great lyrically or just in the sound or anything. I think some of the sound mixing was a little off on this track. I think it was just, I don't know, I just didn't care for this one. I didn't even get the point of this track, honestly. I didn't care for it. But yeah, that's probably the worst track out of the 4 I have talked about so far. So, track number 5 and 6. Chasing Forever. This song is not very lyrically well written. I don't really remember anything about it. It goes on a little too long. And the number 6 here, Keith Be Real interlude, is ridiculously pointless. Like, it's just an interlude. There's nothing that it really accomplishes. It's not even really a song, so it's probably, I don't know why there's interruptions on all of on like at least every 5 tracks or something like that. There's an interruption after every 5 tracks on this album. Very strange choice on Will's part. Track number 7, Don't Say Nothing. This one is a lot better lyrically and sounds a lot better, and I actually remember more of the sound to this one than I did the other 2 tracks. Still, the song goes on a little too long. Miami is track 8 on Will Smith's Big Willie Style. This is one of the more popular-ish songs on the album. Not that great of a track, to be honest. It's alright. There's not much of... It's just a relaxing song about the city of Miami. It's nice. It's enjoyable. Again, I still think the best song on this album is Get Jiggy With It. The rest are alright. I think this is one that is a little bit better than the rest, but still not that great. Yes, yeah, y'all is another really 90s track on this album. It's a very, very, very irritating track, because it's very 90s. It's not very interesting, but the rest of these tracks are kind of strange, interesting, experimental tracks, and I'm sure his other albums are a lot better than this one. He seems to be a lot more experimental on this album, but not enough that it really makes it a great album, because he's not experimenting in ways that I think are good and lead to something interesting. I Loved You All is probably the second best on this album, next Get Jiggy With It, but it still doesn't come out the greatest. I don't know how well this song works on this album. And Keith Be Real has another interlude on here. It's the second one. I don't know why these are on this album. It's all good. Is probably the third best song on this album. But it's not that great. And then another Keith Be Real third interlude on this album. I don't know why these are here. And then here you go. You get to the signature track, number 15, Big Willie Style featuring Left Eye. This is the best song where he combines with another artist and uses his style to make something that is actually pretty good. I think this is probably the fourth best song on this album. And then the last track is a strange choice. It's the Men in Black song. And I don't know why it's on this album. It's like a song that you would see on the soundtrack to Men in Black. It's written for a movie. There's even a music video actually you can find here on YouTube for it. It's not that great of a song lyrically and all that. And it's kind of just like, it's a cheesy song made to promote a cheesy and kind of dumb movie. So now I've officially talked about all the tracks on the Big Willie Style, and let's get into my final thoughts on this album. So the conclusion to this review is Big Willie Style is a rough start. This is Will Smith's first album. A lot of the songs on this album just sound the same. Like you can notice I kind of repeated myself a bunch in this review, but it's because a lot of these tracks sound the same. They're not all that interesting. He's experimenting a little bit, but not enough. There's annoying things like the intro and some of the weird interludes on this album, which don't need to be there. You could just cut those things out of the album. It would be fine. And then you also have that strange like Men in Black song, which is like, I mean, it doesn't really belong on an album. It belongs on a movie soundtrack because it's written for a movie, and it's weird that it's on here. And the rest of the songs are not even that great. Getting Jiggy With It is probably the only song that went off of this album was actually successful. The rest of this album was not successful. It sold pretty good numbers, but that's only because Will Smith is a famous movie star and a famous TV star with Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and stuff at the time. And so this album did sell pretty well, and he did get some other radio on careers, but they're got to do other things, make other albums, and I'm interested to check out some of his other albums. But at the end of the day, this is a rough start. It's not very good, and I don't think it's worth checking out. You can check out Getting Jiggy With It if you really want to see some of the best of Will Smith's career right there. If you're interested in checking out this album, I think it's okay to check out. I just don't think there's not enough here to make this a great album. The cover art is all right though. I like this cover. It's not the most amazing original cover art for an album. It's interesting enough, but overall, rough start. Let me know what other albums you want me to review next. So that's gonna happen.